Let's go on another field trip. Welcome to Satan Nouan's podcast. This is Field Trip 4. Alright. There are approximately 130, million books in the world. Alright. Think of all the libraries, in the world. Think of all the libraries. Consider the different languages also. And how when you go into a library and you check out a book, if that book is missing, they might not have another copy. Oftentimes, at most, they have 2 or 3, commonly. But generally, the books that they carry are one of a kind, and those libraries are full, along with universities and institutions and textbooks also. There are 130 million books recorded, in the world. These are 130 million different titles, not books according to quantity, but titles, different titles of books in the world. One of the sources in Google estimates that there's approximately 2.5 million authors, to date. It did also say, if not more. All right. You always have to cover a safe side. But let's just say approximately 2.5 million authors. That's a lot of authors. That would mean that there are more authors than there are people currently in the prison system, with 1,566 prisons containing approximately 2 million prisoners. If all of those prisoners were authors, we would need 500,000 more. Consider the time that is served in the prison. Imagine the books they read and the knowledge that they have stored. If they decided to write, they could be an author also while spending that time and making some money to put on their books by writing books from a cell. But there are approximately 2.5 million authors, to date. Another factoid is based upon a total annual number, okay, of 4 million published books each year. 11,000 are published daily. So we're saying that 11,000 books are published daily, approximately. Okay? And about 4 million books are published every year. Okay? Consider we're dealing with 130 million total books. Does something sound funny? 130 million total books, okay, pertaining to titles are in the world. Okay? 11,000 are published daily. These numbers, these some crazy numbers, because who can quantify all the books that we see at all these different establishments, even at concession stands or up in front for concession impulse buys? How many books there are in the world, considering 130 million different titles? That's a lot. But considering the number of books that you see is endless, where do they come from? So if there are 2.5 million authors and approximately 130 million books in the world, each author would have had to have published 52 books in their lifetime. Each author, just taking these numbers, would have had to hypothetically, or companies, publish 52 books in their lifetime. Now, considering textbooks and things of this nature, how often are the textbooks updated? And when they print a textbook, who puts it together? And who are all these people that work on that science textbook? And where do they work at? And after that textbook is printed, how many copies do they sell? And for how long before it's outdated? And how many copies do they press? And how many books do we get rid of? There are 130 million total books in the world, and approximately 2.5 million authors to date that would have had to have written 52 titles in their lifetime, with 11,000 published every day. These are the numbers that I'm getting from Google. Hypothetically, if 4 million are published per year, that would be 32,466 books per year. Considering 11,000 are published every day. Does anything seem strange here? Or am I just tripping? I know we're on a field trip and people say that I'm crazy, but honestly, we can see why if I am. What's up with the education system and information and the CIA? Your head is filled with the matrix of lies. That stranger asking in nice fine linen, what do you know? Two fingers held up a victory sign. This world is mysterious. 32,466 books per year with 11,000 published each day. It would only take 3 to 4 days to fill that quota. But that would be if we just took those numbers relatively approximate of how many books would need to be published if we continued from now not looking at the actual numbers and counting back. The first printing press was the Gutenberg, and that printing press was, you know what I'm saying, created, okay, it was made in 1436. So if you take 2024 and take away 1436, that leaves you with 588 years that we have had a printing press. Okay? So, if you take 588 years, okay? If you take 588 years, and I forgot my math, you guys, on how I got to this number, and you times it, okay? I think I times 588 years by 32,466, right? So that each year, if you had that number, right, considering 2.5 million authors, if 32,000 books were published every year, and you times that by 588, you get around 19 million books, okay? You will have 19 million books published to date in total. Okay? There are 130 million books, titles, independent, different individual titles of books in the world. But if you do the math, there would be only 19 million books in total of different titles in the world today, which is still a lot. It's still a lot, but that's still 111 million less than the total number of published books on record. Approximately 111 million less books than what's recorded as the total number of titles that we have recorded in the world today by the Gutenberg press. Okay? So I want to ask you, how many authors do you know? And if you know an author, I want to ask you, is being an author, would you say that this is a niche part of society? Would you say that it's fringe? Who feeds the minds of the public, and who are the gatekeepers of publishing? Considering the flow of information, that's a lot of control seeping into stores and inside of your colleges or recreational reads, feeding your brain, no different than Google feeding me these numbers and me checking behind because I ask simple questions. Man, there's a lot of books in the world. Who wrote all of these books? How did we get all of these titles? To reach the number of books on record, 220,858 books would have to been published without fail since 1436. That means every year since 1436, approximately 221,000 books would have needed to be published each year since 1436 to get 130 million. That's a lot more than 32,000 a year. Okay? These are titles and not numbers pertaining to stock inventory, to be exactly clear. 221,000 different titles, independent books on the shelves each year since 1436 to reach 130 million. Okay? Where are these books coming from? Considering that it's 2.5 million authors to date, according to Google, approximately, but maybe more. Do you believe that each of them have written approximately 52 books in their lifetime? That individual would have to be awfully busy. That might be why you may not know any authors. They're inside the house working and writing, stressing and sweating. What are their finances like, and what are the sales for each of those titles? We should go further. How much does an author get paid on an annual salary, and is it from writing books, or do they do columns inside pieces also? How do they survive in that industry? A shark. Something to think about. Perfect bound books take between 10 to 15 business days to print. Hardcover books take between 5 to 6 weeks, and spiral bound books take between 3 to 4 weeks. This is one title. So if you have a spiral bound book, it takes a month. One title. This is not distribution and mass producing that same book over and over again just to make one, considering all the orders that come into the press. So, quite frankly, we would have to know, I guess, how many presses there are, but there still would have to be an awful lot to make 221,000 independent titles, not pertaining to stock inventory, but just individual titles. You know, Dr. Seuss is one title, science textbook is a different title. 221,000. Okay? This is to print and complete one book, which pertains to multiple orders, even though a press can print 3,600 pages per day. This is to complete one book with binding, not to mass produce. It's going to take at least 15 days, half a month. You could maybe get 2 books out of there, right? But then you have to know how many presses there are. And where do these books go, and which shelves do they go on, and how is that organized, and how much do they sell, and how much does the author get in the end, and how many books does that author have to produce to make ends meet? Is it a side hustle? How many authors do you know? I just want to ask, where are these books coming from? Where are all these authors? So many authors that you never heard of before. Stretched out across different continents. How is it possible that you not know one? If there's possibly more than 2.5 million and 130 million book titles in total, and 221,000 must be produced independent titles each year and mass produced after that single title is put together. How many are sold? This is field trip 4. Peace and blessings be with you all. Something to think about. I'm out.
This song's called Hammer. My shit